Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Let That Sink In. My name is Tiffany Smith, and I am the Director of Marketing and Communications here at PM and Associates. I am joined by Todd Morgan, my wonderful co-host, sales rep out of St. Louis. How you doing, Todd?
Wonderful. How are you, Tiffany?
Doing wonderful. We are on episode 11 of
Amazing.
Let That Sink In, and we are joined today by Jason DeBruer from Ward. Jason is a 20-year veteran of the plumbing, HVAC, and PBF industry. Jason currently is a regional sales director at Ward Manufacturing in the central region, consisting of 15 Midwest states. His job consists of forging strong relationships with his customers, growing business for Ward, and working alongside the best manufacturer representatives in the industry. Yes, you do. Outside of his Ward life, he enjoys keeping up with his two girls and their active sports calendars, as well as being active himself, bike riding, indoor or out. I'm sure we're going to talk about that, Todd.
Yeah.
And traveling with his wife of
a whole nother
19
podcast.
years. Yes. And also, Jason, before we even get started, welcome, first of all, welcome to the podcast. So glad you're here. But I was also strictly instructed to ask you about the Chiefs and the Bengals. I mean, that was literally this morning.
I wonder what location that came from.
Right?
Gee, I wonder.
That came from the very top. That was a direct order from our boss. And he said, oh my gosh, Jason is on. Ask him about the Chiefs and the Bengals. We have to. That was your number one question before we even get into Ward. Like, we have to ask about that. So what is the deal? What is the deal?
Well, you know, I grew up my whole life in Cincinnati, Ohio. So I'm a Bengals loyalist through the thick and thin. And so they've really kind of turned the corner the last couple of years, and it actually is nice to feel or know what a winning team feels like. So so there's been a lot of banter over the last couple of years between that Kansas City office and myself. So
it should be said that our Kansas City office is the PM and Associates Kansas City office, also our Ward representatives. So I'm assuming, did that come from Pat? Or did that come from Michael?
What? I mean, that was straight from Michael. So I think it's that it was the very top of the company. Right. Stirring the pot. Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Those guys, they love to bet on games. So last year, quick side story, the Bengals in Kansas City were in the AFC title game. And, again, this lowly Cincinnati team, we've never really been to the big show in years. I mean, I was a teenager the last time they were probably halfway relevant. So the guys and the gals in the office there are just poking and prodding. Let's make a bet. And I said, okay, well, so if Cincinnati loses, I will send you some Cincinnati ice cream. And if Kansas City loses, you can send
like Graders,
barbecue.
Right?
Yeah, Graders. Yeah.
Yeah,
nice. So I'm watching the game with some friends, and Cincinnati wins. And out of just sheer excitement, I pulled up my phone and I ordered 12 pints of ice cream and sent it to the office, even though I wasn't supposed to, because, we won.
Right.
But, you just get so excited and so programmed to not, to be on the winning side of things here and there. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
That is great. That's awesome.
Well, congratulations. I'm so glad that you feel, you're on the winning team now. That's congratulations about it. Yeah,
that's
awesome.
You're getting to enjoy a few fun years so far as a Bengals fan now. So it's been fun to watch that team the last few years.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Well, let's talk about Ward a little bit, and let's talk about the products that Ward offers. I could sit here. Jason and I go back like 27 years. We just determined that before we started the podcast. So
27 years
go off the rails so very easy.
That's what I'm here to do. Reel you back in. That's my
10
only
and 2,
job.
10 and 2.
Listen,
that's right. That's right.
They're like,
that's right.
I am the class monitor on
so
this
get
podcast.
us there, Tiffany. Get us on track, would you?
Well, before we start with products, I want to talk about history. How about we do that? Okay,
Perfect.
So when the company was started, I want to talk about when the company was started, where it's located. You're 100 years old next year. Is that correct? In 2024?
It is. Yep.
That's
absolutely.
Awesome. So give me a little history here, Jason.
Yeah. So Ward was founded in 1924 by a gentleman named J.P. Ward in Blossburg, Pennsylvania. In Blossburg, if you're looking at a map, Pennsylvania is pretty rectangular. And Blossburg is center north of the state. So I always tell folks, if you're flipping through the TV and you happen to see that the Little League World Series is on ESPN every year over the summer, that's in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. And Blossburg's about 45 minutes north of there. So just south of the PA, New York state line, center north of the state. So really the history of Ward, it's really unique. And from 1924 all the way to, current day, 99 years young, they've always continuously added a little bit here and there. So throughout the process, just going through the history book, they've added different styles of products through the years. Unions were added in 1938, so 14 years after they were founded. Then some heavier fittings, class 300 fittings, some fire protection fittings, ward lock and T-locks, that was added in 1980. And then I'd say a game changer for us in terms of products that we offer is a product called WardFlex, which I know we're going to talk about later, but that was added in the early 90s. And then as recently as 2006 to 2009, we kind of rounded out our offering by acquiring a pipe nipple plant in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which also allowed us to introduce welded seamless nipples, brass, stainless steel, and then also some steel couplings as well. So that's just a brief snapshot of the 99 years. So next year's the big 100. We're already working on.
That's awesome.
I was going to say, what are the celebrations?
And that's I'm the last American manufacturing too, which I think is very special.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm the last person typically to find out what what the celebration's going to look like, because
as long as we're invited, that's all that matters. So we'll bring the party. Okay.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get to celebrate that 100 years with you guys.
Yes, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, it's great.
That's cool. Well, if we could talk a little bit about the difference in the products that Ward manufactures, and let's start with fittings, Ward fittings. I'm trying to point in right back here behind me.
So there we go. I can do it better. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Stephanie. First off, what is malleable iron? What is the difference between that and standard cast iron? Is malleable like a stronger, less porous material?
There's a lot of differences involved, Todd. So our foundry and machine plant manufactures two different types of iron fittings. So one is malleable iron and one is cast iron. So you could get really deep in this stuff, but really the internal mix of materials, the molding and manufacturing processes, the standards based upon how strong each are. There's other factors involved, but I would tell you that the majority of what we see consumed is malleable iron, and cast iron, probably having purposes decades ago for other reasons, is now primarily used in what I would say the fire and fab business. And it's some of those reasons are just based upon the applications that they're used for. You typically
so what are those applications, Jason?
Yeah, so like at this point in time, cast iron is really strictly used, from what we sell, in the fire and fabrication business.
Is that fire sprinkler then? Is that what that would be, Jason?
It is, yeah, it is. And a lot of that business, and I'd say that's more of domestic product in terms of cast iron, because a lot of fire and fab has gone to ductile iron, which is probably a little more similar to cast iron than malleable is. And then malleable, I mean, if you go into your basement, you live in an older home, I live in an old home, and I can go down in the basement and look around, and you're looking at fittings that have been placed, again, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago. So I would really say that, the primary primary amount of product that we're manufacturing is malleable, and cast iron has really kind of been formed into very specific avenues of distribution.
So where would the malleable, or I'm saying malleable, is it malleable, or am I mispronouncing it, or am I okay at malleable?
I think you're okay. I think it's potato.
Yeah.
So
because I'm going to keep saying it because that's the way
he said the malleable.
Yeah, malleable.
Yeah,
and
it's the I in there that kind of just, I think it's just the pronunciation.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But that's used in, he said, older homes, basically anywhere like residential.
Yeah. So like, for years and years, probably up until the 90s, the way to get if you were running gas into a home, at least in the market that I live in, there's a gas main that runs to your home, and then from there you have to branch out and distribute the gas to, I'm just thinking off the top of my head in my own instance, a water heater and a fireplace and a stove and all these other, furnace, all these other things. So, the way to get that gas through to distribute through the home, and at least on the residential side, would be with pipe fittings and pipe nipples. So you've got to have a fitting to connect all of this stuff together. So, and that could be it could be a T, it could be a 90. I mean, there's lots of different sizes and shapes and everything else that you can get into as well. So that's probably, I guess you'd say, on the residential side. And the same thing occurs for commercial projects. Is the same thing. Is you got to move the gas, the propane or the natural gas, from one place to the other, and that's really where these fittings and nipples come into play.
Gotcha. Because I know that they're very popular in the utilities as well. I know that our local utility here uses Ward, so it seems to be a very popular product with the utilities.
Yeah, and I mentioned residential and commercial, but really, we're really fortunate that we get a lot of support in the gas utility sector. I think the last time I heard, almost virtually every single U.S. gas utility, maybe minus a couple, are still strictly spec domestic, and most are specified Ward. So that amount of volume that goes through our facility really helps offset and anything else that may come about. So.
And talking about that, like you said, technically we could really get into the weeds on how you make a malleable iron fitting.
Sure.
From the processing, the raw materials, chemical analysis, to the inspection process. But is this why the domestic, and especially Ward, is so successful with these local gas utility companies? Is, again, the amount of R&D and quality control that goes into it domestically versus a low-cost import, say, from China, where we don't know what testing and R&D and whatnot and quality control it's gone through.
Yeah, Todd, I would tell you, like, our best support there is to bring our customers to our facility, and they can see the amount of hands that touch a single fitting as it goes from being poured molten iron all the way through the process, and just seeing what's involved. You wouldn't know unless you saw it, but the foundry is one building where everything's made, and then everything is shipped to a separate facility, and really the difference in the facilities, no fault of their own, is night and day. I mean, a foundry is dark, and it's almost impossible to keep it. I mean, it is clean, but it's always the facility's fighting against you, where when we ship all this material to our machine shop, I think as of last year, we completed a renovation of the machine shop where all of the machines that thread the fitting.
Oh, you froze up on us, Jason. Hopefully,
clean the fitting. All of that is. Oh no, did I?
You're back. Okay. We got you.
Okay. Yep.
Should I go back a little bit, or is this okay? Okay.
I think you're fine.
So the machine shop, is that all right? So the machine shop is completely automated. So all the threading and the cleaning and the gate cutting and all those things, that's all an automated process at this point in time. And all of those machine banks literally pressure test every single fitting that goes out of our door. So, and that's an automated process as well. So, just being able to see the amount of effort that goes into providing a quality product I think is second to none. And does that spill over to, the support that we provide, that we receive from, contractors and installers and plumbers and everything else? It probably does, but they don't see it, but it's the amount of effort that we put in that probably provides a lot of allegiance to what we offer.
Well, I would think that's so important considering what you're carrying most of the time through that fitting, right? I mean, you can't
absolutely
have a porous and cheaply made fitting that's carrying gas that could, potentially kill somebody.
You're right.
Exactly.
So, right. Water's one thing, gas is a whole different story.
Exactly. Yeah. So I get that. I understand, again, talking to you, hearing the process it goes through, reading about the process it goes through, why a local utility would want to use a domestic, if not a ward fitting, because of the amount of just QC that you guys are doing with the product itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk to us a little bit about the Nipples. I know you mentioned earlier about the history that, Ward in 2006 acquired Wisconsin Nipple and Fitting Company, still based up in Wisconsin. You didn't move the plant or anything like that, or the machinery.
It is not.
So tell us a little bit about the Nipples and where a Ward nipple is perhaps used, and anything you can share with us.
So, I mean, they kind of go hand in hand. It's like when you're ordering a cheeseburger and somebody says, "Do you want fries with that?" It's the same kind of thing. If you're using a Ward fitting, do you need nipples as well? So,
thread into the fitting.
Correct. They go together. Yes.
Yeah.
So, that facility provides a complete line of welded nipples, seamless nipples, and then we do a little bit of stainless steel and brass. And that facility is subjected to the same rigorous quality control that we handle at Ward on the fittings side. So they go through inspections of each bundle of pipe. The materials must meet all of the standards that we have to abide by, or that we hold ourselves to. And that could be like, again, getting into the weeds. It could get into the chemical, the alloy, or the mechanical characteristics, but there's always quality checks that are going on throughout that facility. So both of those facilities, the Ward fitting facility and the Ward nipple facility, feed our distribution center network across the United States. So they're simply making material to feed these distribution centers, and then therefore the distribution centers are the ones that are filling orders for our customer base.
Gotcha. Are those your two main plants then? Is Blossburg and then in Wisconsin?
They are for the fitting and the nipple side of the business. I know we're going to get into WardFlex in a second, but WardFlex is manufactured in a different facility as well. But in terms of just the fitting and the nipple side, those are the two. Yeah.
Right on.
That's great. Well, yeah, let's roll right into WardFlex. Let's do that. So for those that don't know, WardFlex is CSST pipe, which is short for corrugated stainless steel tubing, that is certified. Thank you for Vanna for my props. Appreciate that. It's certified for use with all recognized fuel gases, including natural gas and propane. So yes, tell us about WardFlex CSST, please.
Yeah, sure. It's like you said, it's CSST, short for corrugated stainless steel tubing. It's a continuous flexible gas piping that ultimately we believe delivers more performance or gas flow and a lot of installation advantages when compared to black steel pipe or ordinary CSST systems. So WardFlex is manufactured in Pennsylvania as well, but they're manufactured in Lawrenceville, Pennsylvania, which is about 30 minutes north of our foundry. So everything's pretty close to one another. WardFlex uses domestic raw materials, and that includes the tubing and the fittings to even the manifolds, which are made in our foundry and then shipped up to our WardFlex plant and finished. And then even some of the accessories like appliance stub outs and other items, those are all domestically sourced and manufactured by us. So I would tell you, WardFlex is approved for commercial and residential installation in all 50 states across the United States, as well as Canada and Europe, everywhere else. Canadian standards, WardFlex is approved for use in single family, multifamily, commercial, industrial applications, the whole 9 yards, wherever gas service is needed. So that's a little bit about WardFlex.
It just seems like obvious. It seems obvious to me that the installation of a flexible pipe that's going to be on a roll versus rigid pipe and trying to work that around corners and around floor joists and things like that, you have great advantage of having this flexible product. How long of a roll of WardFlex can I get? Is that a loaded question?
Yeah. No, it's not. So I would tell you, up until recently, I think the smallest roll that we were offering was 50 feet, all the way up to some rolls as long as 1,000.
Wow.
But what we were finding is we were finding, and just having conversations with customers, that they were buying larger rolls and then they were cutting the material themselves, like behind the counter, cut the size. And we would prefer to get our customer base out of the cutting business and into the just general selling roll business. So we recently, as of maybe 2.5 years ago, we introduced a 26-foot roll, which has been pretty successful. There is a premium because believe it or not, it's harder to manufacture a 26-foot roll versus a 100-foot roll or 150-foot roll or 250-foot roll. There's more hands because as it's rolling up on the manufacturing process, by the time a 26-foot roll is done and you pack it and you're turning, you have to have somebody else grabbing the next roll.
Yeah.
So there's more involved, but that smaller roll has really and I know it's gotten a number of our customers out of the responsibility of cutting something to size and being able just to sell something that's just a quick grab and go.
Yeah.
And convenient to have that 26 roll on the truck too, right? That 26 foot, not taking up too much space, but having that extra if you need it or if you make a mistake or what have you.
Now,
yeah, very
Jason,
much so.
You is there WardFlex and WardFlex Max? Is that correct? Do you have those two different products?
There are.
Okay, what's the difference between those two?
So we manufacture a yellow jacketed product simply called WardFlex and a black jacketed product, which is WardFlex Max.
Okay.
So the true only difference is in the properties that are within the makeup of the jacket itself.
Okay.
So all yellow CSST product, regardless of brand, is required to be bonded or grounded as per the National Fuel Gas Code. And that's a all industry code. That's not specific to WardFlex.
Okay.
And that is to protect typically against a lightning strike causing an ignition. Is that correct, Jason?
It is, yeah. Like if there's a charge running or an arc running somewhere, the arc or a charge will follow the ground wire down and not damage the gas line. That's the intent of that.
Great.
We still manufacture both because depending on state, city, county, township, they may recognize certain part of the National Fuel Gas Code or not. So in some markets you can use the WardFlex Max product, which is the black jacketed product.
Okay.
And per our specifications, that product does not need additional bonding or grounding, only because within the jacket itself there is a carbon coating. And if there was, let's just say, if there was an arc or strike somewhere and that arc tried to damage the stainless steel tubing, the carbon coating in the black jacket sacrifices itself and burns off the burns off the stainless steel before the stainless steel can be damaged.
That's so cool. That's great.
It is. Yeah. It's really, it's so
really
neat.
Yeah.
It is. So we offer both because in certain markets, our code may be approved or adopted, and in other markets it may not be. So I just know a lot of the state that I'm in, Ohio, requires bonding and grounding of any CSST, regardless of its color.
So they might as well buy this, right?
Sure. Yes.
Yep. Makes sense.
Yeah. And then we ship a lot of WardFlex over to Europe. We ship a lot of WardFlex to Canada. And again, their standards are different than ours. Therefore, a lot of yellows used there because the bonding and grounding is required regardless.
It seems like ease of installation then is probably the number one advantage to a CSST. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, I would. Yeah. I mean, we've seen some time studies done and things of the sort in a residential property where you could save half on labor by using a WardFlex style product versus threaded pipe and fittings. Yeah.
And that's why it's also jacketed. Obviously, the jacket is on WardFlex Max serves a very important purpose, but also isn't the jacketing for pulling that through an installation as well and making that easier to pass by those, corners and things like that, make turns?
It is. Yeah, it's to protect the stainless steel. And as also too, there's a requirement that every 2 feet we have to print a code on the tubing itself, which tells us a lot of information. We can go all the way. Yeah, there it is. We can go all the way back. There's coding on there that'll tell us when the raw material came in, on what machine it was made on, when it was packed, when it was shipped. So if we do have to refer to that, we have all that information. But that's another requirement that's all that 2 foot that run is placed every 2 feet on the pipe.
So Jason, we've covered the advantages of installation of that pipe and the ease of installation versus a rigid pipe. But what other advantages do WardFlex CSST offer over our competition?
Sure. There's a couple things that we do differently and proudly that we do. One of which is we are the only CSST manufacturer that uses a 2 times annealed stainless steel. So the annealing of the steel allows it to be put into place. It's more adaptable during the installation. So it's not quite as rigid as you might find others to be. For someone that's very picky about how their work looks, when you bend it a certain way, it's not going to recoil back. It'll hold its shape, which I think helps for just the overall installation process. So the stainless steel we receive is already annealed, and then through our manufacturing process, it's annealed a second time. One other thing we do in the manufacturing process is once the rolls are corrugated and completed, we go through a test where a vacuum test where we put the rolls into a chamber, and we use hydrogen gas to try to detect any leak whatsoever in the coil itself.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And this is it's pretty next level stuff. And then lastly, we mentioned a little bit about the yellow jacketed product and the black jacketed product. If there are instances where markets may need the use of both, our WardFlex fitting is used for both jackets. So there's no need to carry a WardFlex fitting that would only fit on a WardFlex yellow jacketed product, and then a fitting that would only fit on the black jacketed product. So both of those the same fitting for both jackets. And those are just a few of the things that we stand on our hill and thump our chest about.
Those are really good things to thump your chest about. Yes, those are great things to do that.
I took a little bit of the jacket off too, just because the samples I've been holding up, I wanted to show what CSST under the jacket looks like. And I think most people watching know what a corrugation is, but still, I wanted to show what corrugated stainless steel tubing looks like. So just wanted to throw that in there.
And Jason, how can a plumber get certified on WardFlex or recertified?
Yeah. So again, as per a lot of the national fuel gas codes, training is required for installation on, again, all CSST products. So certification is by the letter of the fuel gas code is valid for 5 years, and we use our WardFlex sales representatives in markets to provide certification or training. And then once those 5 years technically are up, a recertification is needed. And again, recertification is not as detailed as a certification itself. But that also can be completed by a WardFlex manufacturer representative or sales representative in a certain market. We can provide, I've seen folks provide trainings on the back of a pickup truck. I've seen them do them in a training facility. I've seen them do them, just about wherever. So it can be done. But with the nature of how important a proper installation is, it's really worth it. So
are you still offering that online? I know during COVID we did, but is that still something that could be accessible online as well?
It is. We really stress that an initial certification we would like to do in person.
Sure.
And then recertifications are still available by taking a course on the wardmfg.com website.
Very cool. I have one more question that just came to me. And again,
sure.
I just thought of this during our conversation when we were actually talking about the WardFlex and the jacket. Is the jacket plenum rated?
It is, yes.
Okay. All right. That's just something I think is important to note too, because it's obvious that this is going to run through a plenum space in a lot of applications. So jacket is plenum rated. That's important to know.
It is.
So, well, Jason, thank you. I mean, there's obviously, as I said, we can get into the weeds, and I think we'll save that for more of the certifications and things like that for, anybody
can we have
that
you
wants
back,
to,
Jason? We'll, yes.
Yeah,
I could also maybe I could get someone that could speak a little bit better than myself. So
this was perfect.
Fantastic.
This is, we wanted this broad overview of who Ward is,
absolutely,
the history of Ward. I mean, you're coming up on 100 years, which is just outstanding. So congratulations to Ward on that.
And you're going to keep us updated on all the celebrations happening, correct? Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've never been to Blossburg.
I would tell you guys, we're a very proud company, and we love going to bat for all the folks that work within our foundry and our machine shop and at the WardFlex plant and the nipple plant. It gives us a lot of joy to tell their story. And I always tell customers, when we sit down with someone and we thank them for supporting us and providing the business and everything else, I always say, there's 500 people behind me that would love to say thanks, but unfortunately you have to hear it from me.
Right.
But we just love carrying the flag for everybody at all those facilities. It really does mean a lot.
That's very cool. Nice of you to say that about all the people too.
Absolutely.
I think that's cool. Giving props to the folks that are actually making this product. So
100%.
Yeah. Well, Jason, thank you again. And I also want to mention, though, if you are interested in WardFlex certification, you just need to reach out to your PM and Associates representative, and we will be happy to meet with you, get you WardFlex certified, and put in the best CSST on the market.
Absolutely. You can find all that information on our website, p-massoc.com.
Jason, thank you so much, sir. We really appreciate it.
It has been such a pleasure to talk to you today. We're so excited about the future with Ward, love our partnership, and excited for the future.
Thanks for the knowledge.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks,
All
Jason.
right. Bye, Jason.
All right. See ya.